stop allowing others to set the conditions. And this is similar to the way we started this. Stop waiting for change, start making change. This one's a little different. So here's a story to paint a picture for what this means. Stop allowing others to set the conditions. We are responsible for much of the direction and speed of our life. That is what we are in control of. The direction and the speed. The speed at which we operate, we move, we make changes. And we're directly responsible for the direction. A few years ago, we were living in a house that we're no longer living in. It was right before we moved to Nashville, and we were building a pool. And this pool project took 18 months, much longer than it should have or needed to. We hired a pool builder who was a contractor, and I just assumed that they had everything in-house. But what I came to learn much later than I wish I wouldn't have is that they had no one working in-house for them. It was like a skeleton crew of a company, and they would hire subcontractors for every part of the job. So the reason this pool project took 18 months is because, well, first, this company that we hired would reach out to the subcontractor to do the first part of the job. And we were waiting on their timeline. So if they had 4 other projects in the queue, they couldn't get started for 3 weeks. Nothing was getting done for 3 weeks. And then they go do their part of the job. And then once that was done, the company would go hire a new set of subcontractors to do the next part of the job. But they had 8 pools in the queue and they couldn't start for another 6 weeks. So the pool would sit with no one working on it for 6 weeks. And then the next crew would come out and get started. And so on and so forth for 18 months until this pool was completed. There were weeks, there were months, literally months, where no one was working on this pool project because we were allowing other people, this company, these subcontractors, to set the conditions for the speed at which we operated. And as long as you do this, you are not in control. You are not in the driver's seat. That is living your life as if you were an Uber passenger going on a roulette trip of not knowing where you're going, how you're getting there, at what speed. You just hop into a random Uber. Say you're leaving a concert one night. You hop in a random Uber. It wasn't your Uber, just some random Uber of some other random person trying to get home from this concert. You just hop in. You don't know where you're going. You don't know how you're getting there. You don't know how long it's going to take, at what speed, at what direction, nothing. If you want to live your life like that, that's one option. It's a really dangerous way to live. Who knows where we're going to end up? I mean, you could have hopped in an Uber in Colorado and ended up in California a few days later, for all you know. Or you can be the driver. I want to be the driver. I want to set the conditions. I want to control the direction and the speed as much as possible. When you allow others to set the conditions, you can't do X until they do Y. It's going to take a long time. And sometimes by the time you get there, the direction is so off course because you've had to make sacrifices along the way based off of changes in speed that it's so far off from what you expected or assumed it was going to be that it wasn't worth it. But if you're going to be the driver, a driver requires direction. A driver requires competency and skills. A driver requires tools and resources. A driver requires motivation to get from point A to point B. And a driver requires a timeline. Put yourself in the driver's seat. control the speed and the direction, and stop allowing others to set the conditions for what you achieve and accomplish and when.